So guys, today we'll see DHCP, which stands for Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol. So what is the use? Let us try to understand. Imagine you have 200 computers in your network and you want to configure the IP addresses to these 200 computers. And let us say the network is like 10.0.0.1. 0.0. This is your network. From this network, you will configure the IP addresses. And the range is like this from 10.0.0.1 to 10.0.0.255 IP addresses you need to configure. And the subnet mask is 255.0.0.0. And gateway, let us say it is 10.0.0.255. And DNS is 10.0.0.1. Preferred DNS is 10.0.0.2. This is the configuration you need to done on all the computers. Okay, you have 200 computers. So you will go to each and every computer, okay, and you will open the adapter. Okay, you will log on to each and every computer and you will open this adapter and cpa.cpl. And you will open this adapter. You will go to IP version 4 and you will configure the first IP address like 10.0.0.1. And subnet mask is 255.0.0.0. Default gateway is 10.0.0.255. And DNS is 10.0.0.1. and 10.0.0.2. This is the first IP address you have configured on first PC. Okay, then you will go to second PC. You will log on to that PC and you will open the adapter and you will configure the IP address. So in this PC, you will configure 10.0.0.2. Subnet mask is 255.255.255.0. Default gateway is 10.0.0.255. Preferred DNS is 10.0.0.1. 10.0.0.2. Then you will go to second PC, you will configure 10.0.0.3 and the other configuration is same. So approximately, let us say it will take 2 to 4 minutes. Let us say we are assuming it will take 2 minutes to configure the IP address on one PC. So 2 into 200, which means it will take 400 minutes to configure the IP addresses. We are taking the least value 2 minutes, so it may take 5 minutes as well. Okay, to reach the computer, log on to the computer, okay, and then configure the IP address. So it is a time-consuming process, and there is a chance of error as well. So you, as a human being, we can make the error also. So to avoid this wastage of time and to make the task easy, what we do, we use the DHCP server. So in this DHCP server, you will take one server and you will install one service called DHCP. After installing the DHCP service, you will train this server. Whatever the information you have, okay, you will give it to DHCP server and you will tell this server, any device which is connected to network, provide the IP address from this range 10.0.0.1 to 10.0.0.255 and the subnet mask should be 255.0.0.0 and the gateway should be 10.0.0.255. This is the preferred DNS, this is the alternate DNS. So you will train the DHCP server. So when any device connected to the network, this DHCP server will provide the IP address automatically and immediately. Okay. So second PC will connect to the network. Again, this DHCP server will provide the IP address to the clients automatically or dynamically immediately. Okay, guys. So this is the use of DHCP server. So DHCP stands for Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol. If we have to configure, if we need to configure the IP address manually to hundreds of computers, it will take time. To save the time, we use DHCP, which will assign the IP address to all the devices connected to the network. So this DHCP server will assign the IP addresses automatically. So we can install the DHCP server on domain controller as well. So we have domain controller, and the IP address of this domain controller is 10.0.0.1, but it will reduce the performance of this server. So it is recommended to have a separate server for separate service. So if you have a separate server, okay, you will install that server and connect it to the network. You will install the DHCP service on that server and you will configure the DHCP. But in our lab, what we will do, we will install this DHCP server on 10.0.0.1, but it is not recommended in real networks. You should have a separate server for DHCP. It is recommended to have a separate server for separate service. And IP addresses can be static IP address and dynamic IP addresses. What is the meaning of static IP address? Addresses are manually assigned and do not get changed automatically. So a static IP address means you will assign the address manually. You will go to the adapter and you will use this second option. Use the following IP address and you will type the IP address manually. So you can see we have configured this IP address manually. This IP address is called as static IP address. Okay, so IP addresses are manually assigned, and these static IP addresses, they are not changed automatically. If you want to change the IP address, you need to change it manually. And dynamic IP addresses are assigned automatically for a specific period of time and might get changed. So these dynamic IP addresses are provided by DHCP server. That is why it is called as dynamic IP addresses. And these IP addresses, which is provided by DHCP server, they will get changed, okay, after a period of time. They are not permanent IP addresses. So what is DHCP? DHCP assigns IP address automatically to the clients who are requesting for the same. So it will provide the IP address to the clients. These are the clients. Let us say this is our switch and this is our DHCP server. So these clients will request for the IP address to DHCP server, and DHCP server will provide the IP address automatically. And centralized IP management, so we can manage the IP addresses from a central point. You don't need to go to each and every device to manage the IP addresses. And DHCP prevents IP addresses conflict, and it will prevent the IP address conflict as well, which means it will provide the unique IP addresses. It will not provide the same IP addresses to multiple devices, and help conserve the use of IP addresses on the network. And it reduces the administrative task as well. How it is reducing the administrative task? You don't need to go to each and every device to configure the IP addresses. PCs will get or the end devices will get the IP addresses automatically. So besides IP addresses, DHCP provides subnet mask, default gateway, preferred DNS, alternate DNS. So it is not only providing the IP addresses, it will provide the subnet mask, default gateway, and DNS as well. And the complete information must be provided by the administrator to DHCP server. So we need to provide the complete information to DHCP server. Then only DHCP server will provide the IP address. If DHCP doesn't know what is the network range, what is the subnet mask, what is the default gateway, how it will provide the IP address to the client. So we need to provide it. We need to train the DHCP server. And guys, in Microsoft servers, if you are making any server as DHCP server, it must be authorized. Authorized means DHCP server must be a member server, must be joined to the domain. Okay, it should be a part of domain. Then only it can become a DHCP server. Otherwise, if you configure the DHCP service, it is not joined to the domain, so it can't provide. The Windows will prevent this server to provide the IP address. So this should be the part of the domain, and it can't be workgroup server for security reason. Why security? Guys, if you allow any workgroup computer to become DHCP server, so anyone can connect to our network and he will install the DHCP server and he will start providing the IP addresses. Okay, so if it is a part of domain, which means it is authorized by the administrator. Okay, that is why it is compulsory to be a part of domain, then only it can provide the IP addresses. And we need to create the scope. Okay, when we configure the DHCP server, we need to provide the scope. And what is this scope? Scope is the range of IP addresses that is available to be leased to the client. So from this scope only, it will provide the IP addresses. In DHCP server, we will create the scope. We will see how to create it. So guys, this DHCP, it will go through a DORA process. Let us try to understand what is the meaning of this DORA process. So what you will do, you will configure the client. Let us say you want this computer to get the IP address from DHCP server. So you need to select this option. First option, obtain an IP address automatically. Then you will click OK. Okay, when you select this option, this client, what it will do, it will send one discover message. This is your client PC and you have selected discover, obtain an IP address automatically. When you select this option, this client will send one discover message. It will broadcast this message to all the devices in the network and it will check. It will ask who is this DHCP server in our network. Client searching for DHCP server using discover message. Then this DHCP server will send the response back. All the devices will ignore this message. Only DHCP server will send the response and it will send one offer message. In this offer, let us say he will say that I have 10.0.0.10 IP address. Do you need this IP address? It will offer the IP address. So DHCP client, it will see the IP address and it will send the request. Okay, send this 10.0.0.10 IP address and other details as well, like subnet mask, default gateway, DNS server as well. Then DHCP server will send the acknowledgement. In this acknowledgement, it will send the IP address with other information. If you see here, it is sending the discover message and DHCP server is sending the offer here. I have XYZ IP address for you. Will you accept it? So client will send the request and it will say that, yes, I accept. Kindly issue XYZ IP address to me and send the remaining configuration. Remaining configuration in the sense subnet mask, default gateway, etc. Then server will send the IP address with other information. Okay, XYZ IP address is assigned to you. So it will assign the IP address to the client. And it is called as DORA process. Why it is called as DORA process? Discover, offer, request, and acknowledge. Okay, these are the short forms. So this is how the DHCP works.